So it's a natural occurrence. It happens in 100% of women. Okay. It's just that
So that's
some
everybody.
women, yeah, that's
Okay.
everybody.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to FiwiFewCents. Today's show is a show where we talk about physiotherapy and women's health. And here to talk about that with me is Kimberly Hoffman-Reid. Kimberly, welcome to
Thank
FiwiFewCents.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I'm your host, Kmanii, and this is FiwiFewCents. It's on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe, and then enjoy the show. So, we have a brief introduction for Miss Hoffman-Reid, right?
Mhm.
Kimberly is much easier. Can I go?
Of course, you can call me Kimberly. You can even call me Kim. It's
Kim.
fine.
Oh, I know too many Kims. I mean, it comes to the territory. I'm Kim.
Kim
Kim,
and
Kim.
Kim.
Okay, so brief introduction. So Kimberly has a bachelor's in science, a bachelor's of science in physical therapy.
Mhm.
Right? She is a physiotherapist. Is there a specification to it, or is just overall?
I am a physiotherapist generally, and I'm
Generally.
also doing my doctorate in
Mm-hmm.
pelvic floor rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
So that my focus will be on women's health and
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of men's health too, as it regards to the pelvic
Just a
health.
bit.
Right, just a little bit on
Okay.
men. So
All right.
toots.
Okay, so she's also the creator of the Mommy Tummy Guide.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And I recently found out that her 5-year-old has a business.
Oh yes, she does.
It
She's
took me 22 years.
overachiever.
But yeah, so there we go. That's the brief introduction. So again, welcome to Few Cents.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we have a couple of this or that's it's traditional here on Few Cents.
All right, let's
So we're
hear
gonna
it.
list two things. You're gonna pick one. The other one you can't have it neither tomorrow, the next day down the line. You use
Okay.
one and that's it. So the first one is cats or dogs.
I'm not an animal person, but if I have to choose dogs.
Yes, very good. I'm not an animal person either, but dogs is the way to go. Cat people are very concerning. I worry about cat people. So, meat or pastry?
Ooh.
Like if you're
Hmm.
going to a hotel and there's the buffet, which direction do you head first? To the meat section or to the
I'm not so much
pastry?
on sweets anymore. I don't know why.
Mm.
A good cheesecake, yeah, but probably head to the meat. I'll probably have the meat.
Cheesecake? If
Yeah.
chocolate is anywhere in the pastry section, that's I make a beeline straight for the chocolate. That's just the way to go. I mean,
I
I
don't
love
know.
pork, in terms of like meat, but
And it's funny, the
chocolate
only
is
meat I
like a
really
easy
eat is
pick.
chicken or fish, but I'd probably head for the meat section.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Cheesecake probably would get me, but I get to choose one, so I'm gonna go with meat.
okay. Hiking or scuba diving? Which would you rather?
Hiking, I'm not going no scuba diving. That's not for me. Hiking, hiking, definitely hiking.
I hmm, I don't like salt water, but scuba diving you have on the stuff, yeah. And I like watching Animal Planet
You don't have
with
to be
the
trained to do
marine
scuba
thing.
diving, right? Yeah,
It's
actually
just
have
like
to.
the minimum stuff. I can swim already, and I can do all that fun. As
Yeah.
long as the salt water is not getting in my eye and I have on the scuba suit and thing, I think I would choose scuba diving
I
over
don't
hiking. If
know.
for these two, I'd go with scuba.
Maybe snorkeling over hiking because like on the surface, but way down there. I don't know. My mind keeps saying, "What if the glass break?" My mind is going there. I'd
Okay,
hike. I'd hike. My
okay.
one hiking experience was horrible, by the way. It was Blue
Mine as well.
Mountains and it
Mine is the same one.
rained. It was just terrible, but I'd probably choose hiking.
Myself and a friend of this brief detour. Myself and a friend of mine. It's like what was it? 2019 or 2018? Might have been 2018. Yeah, because I remember I left for New York shortly after. So 2018, I was like, I am, whatever age I was, I can't remember right now. I don't know. So I was like, I can't believe I haven't climbed the Blue Mountain. I've
Right,
lived in Jamaica
right.
for so long. So I called up some of my friends and was like, all right, we're going to climb Blue Mountain this day. Who come in? The typical people. Oh, yeah, man, everybody come here. On the day, one guy showed up, me and another friend. But we trucked on. We went, find the taxi that carry you to the thing, find
Yeah.
the bikers or the van drivers that carry you to the foot of the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and then just head up there. It was dreadful.
It was. Did you go
It
like to
was
catch a sunset,
of
sunrise?
we did. There was no plan. It
Oh,
was
there was
just
no
get up the hill
plan.
and get back down.
Mm.
That's
No, we planned it out. So we started hiking at 3 a.m. to
oh to
get to
catch it.
the
Mhm.
sunrise, and we did. So luckily, I caught the sunrise. I saw Cuba, everything I need to do, so I don't have to go back. So
Oh yeah, no. By the time we got up there, there was clouds all around. Couldn't see
no, I caught
nothing.
everything.
Took
So
some pictures.
I won't be
Took
going
a
back.
nap, and then we come right back down. And then we got lost. And then we tread through the bushes of Blue Mountain for about 2 hours.
Oh wow, that
Then
sounds horrible.
yeah, yeah,
Sounds worse than my
it's
experience.
quite the story. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
I see why I choose scuba
quite.
diving. And I would choose after that, definitely.
All right. Do you rather working on senior citizens or athletes?
Wow. Okay. So both can be fun. I mean, I love my old people. They're just so much fun. They have so much knowledge. They've
Mhm.
been here so long and they can share so much detail. So I absolutely love treating the senior citizens. Athletes can be fun too because they pose a challenge. Their conditions usually require a little more thinking than treating old people. But my thing with athletes is that I don't feel like I have full control over the treatment because they're the coaches, the athlete's ambition, they want to get out there now. And it's just a lot of factors that
Mhm.
I don't really like. I don't like coach telling me like that person needs to go on tomorrow. And I know that person can't go on tomorrow. That bothers me. So that's why I didn't choose that path because
Okay.
I don't want to have to mince words with the coaches. So I left that alone.
Okay. So senior
So I
citizens.
would choose senior citizens, yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, given my roundness at the moment, but I was once an athlete.
Oh, yeah, of course. I can
Right, you
tell.
can see it, right? It's,
Oh,
it's
yes.
evident in the
Absolutely.
chubs and the
Hmm. So evident. How could I miss it? How?
All right, and the last one is private practice or public hospital.
Oh, that's a no-brainer. Private
Yeah.
out. I left internship vowing never to return, and I haven't. So
Okay.
there is that. Yes.
All right. All right. Well, so that's it for this or that.
Okay,
All
that was
right.
fun.
And yeah, it was. It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'd like to get into it now. And so the first thing I'd like to ask is, so there are not many people unless you were an athlete once, and you derail somewhere along the line and you end up doing physiotherapy. That's how I thought about it. So like some of the students I know from GC Foster and thing who are doing physiotherapy were once athletes and they were like, I'm here on scholarship, might as well get one degree,
Hmm.
something,
Okay.
right? So how did you personally get into
All
physiotherapy?
right. First of all, as a past member of the Jamaica Physiotherapy Association, I have to, make some little corrections.
Mm-hmm.
So the University of the West Indies is
Uh-huh.
the only accredited physiotherapy program in the English-speaking Caribbean. So whatever GC Foster is offering, it is not physical therapy. And we have a big issue with that. So absolutely, I'm so sorry, but I absolutely
Well,
have to correct it because the JPA would have me. If they're
mhm.
watching this and I didn't correct it, yeah.
Fair
And I
enough, fair
prefer
enough.
deal with you than the
That
JPA.
fair enough, yeah.
So it is sports related, but it's not physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So physical therapy is a medical profession. So
Mm-hmm.
it's under the faculty of medical science. Right? And that's how it's offered because it's more than just sports, it's more than just sports related. Physiotherapy entails cardiopulmonary physiotherapy, that's the lungs, especially in the time of COVID. Physiotherapy have been on the front line saving a lot of lives, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
help to clear the mucus from the lung and allow the patients to breathe properly, which is one of the big factors that was, causing a lot of deaths with COVID, right? Physiotherapy is neurological, so like persons who have a stroke or a traumatic brain injury, physiotherapy would be the avenue that would use to rehabilitate that person so that they can function. So primarily, it's all about functioning, whether it is your lungs, whether it is your muscles, whether it's the nerves. That's what physiotherapy entails.
Okay.
All right.
Uh-huh.
So for me and how I got into physiotherapy, so I was destined to be the family lawyer. Okay, I was supposed to be a lawyer because from I come out of my mother womb, me a chat. So everybody say, "Oh, he's a lawyer." This, you know. Up to now, my auntie used to call me and be like, "So you're still doing the physiotherapy thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly." No law school? No. All right. Call again next year. That's how she does it. Like every year she check on me until she needed physiotherapy
Oh,
services
okay,
and I
man.
was the
Then
one
it's
who
like,
provided
oh,
it. Right.
can come help me with this.
Exactly. So I was supposed to be the family lawyer and I chose all my subjects to do law. But when I was in sixth form, I just got up one day like, I don't want the law. Like, I don't want the law. So I was like, they had these exams that they would make you do, like not exams, like quiz or like tests based on your personality, which profession would suit you. Law came up, of course, but physiotherapy was also there. I was like, let me look. So I had a big sister at Immaculate, and by big sister we used to have old girls who would come back and talk to us, and she was a physical therapist, and let me tell you, she was fabulous. Like she was, fabulous. So she came, and I remember she was in this. I remember it vividly. She was in this little black dress and some heels, and she walking through, clunk, 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 and I'm like, whoa! I want to do what she's doing. So she was in physiotherapy, and she spoke to us about it, and she spoke with a lot of passion. I'm a passionate person, so of course I took to that, and it's like okay. So I called her up and asked her because we needed voluntary hours. So I asked her if I could do my voluntary hours at her practice, and she said yes. So I called my aunt. I'm like, Auntie, I want to be a physical therapist. She's like, no, you don't. I'm like, yeah, I want to be a physical. She's like, no, you don't. So she made an appointment with the head of the physiotherapy department at UA, and we had like a meeting because my aunt is like that. So she took me there, and like the head of the department was like, "So you wanted the physio?" I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Why?" And I was tempted to say, "Oh, because it looks
It
fabulous."
looks fabulous. I was just about to say.
But I stuck with the answer like, I want to help
Yes.
people. So she was on to me though. She was just like, "You met Terry?" Because that was a physio. I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Physiotherapy is not always this fabulous profession, you know." And I'm like, yeah. She's like, "You'll have to clear sputum. You work at the hospital." And she made it look so like horrible. Like if I listened to her, I wouldn't have done it. But I'm like, "Yeah, man, of course I want to do this." So the voluntary hours you get private practice and you get public. You have to do the public sector. So I did the private practice and it was fabulous. She has like a pool and it's nice. And on Fridays they did the nails at the poolside. It was fabulous, I tell you. So leaving there, first voluntary ONO, KPH, public sector. So me, I'm like excited self down KPH. And they're like, "Oh, we're going on the ward today. So you're going to see chest physio." I'm like, yeah, chest. Yeah. So I left and we went on the ward. Step on KPH, disinfectant, whatever them use, box me. Cold sweat, wash me. I'm like, yeah. No, last sound good,
Not
last
so
sound
fabulous
nice.
now, yeah.
Last sound like physio is not it, and him lick the chest and the person, and I'm like, oh, like
But just get shiver.
I'm like, that is not for me. Like, no, no. And I had to leave and get icy mint and to settle back down. So I go back to my mother like, "Mommy, I'm not go back." Yes, I did apply for other physiotherapy was the only thing I applied for. So I was like, "Mommy, I said, may I go back? I'm not go back." And she's like, "No, you're going to finish the voluntary. Oh, you're going to finish what you started. You're going to go back." I'm like, "No, mommy." Like, "No, man, just do it." And I continued for the 2 weeks, and it really wasn't that bad. It wasn't after you get over the whole smell and you get over the whole sputum and you get over it. It really wasn't bad. And I fell in love with it. I love that I got to meet so many people from different places and different stories. And I love people and their stories. So I really, yeah, clearly. So I really got to do that a lot. And I fell in love with the profession. And let's just say it came easy to me.
Mm.
It naturally, like I didn't have to try too hard. I mean, school wasn't easy because my family really couldn't afford it. So I was working and doing a lot, and I still managed to, and they're like, no, you can't work under physiotherapy. And I was working two jobs doing physio. This has always been my life, like juggling things, always been my life. So working two jobs doing physiotherapy school, and I was able to make it through on time, not having to repeat. So, um as I said, it was just a natural thing, and I left, and life just took me down a path, and here I
Okay.
am. Yeah.
Down which path?
So like down a path now. Okay, so we're talking life story now. So the path is that like during internship I got pregnant. So when I got pregnant, I began to realize how much physiotherapy affected or influenced pregnancy or could make it better, right? So I was worried during my pregnancy, like I was terrified because I'm ye small
Mm-hmm.
and I was ye smaller when I was pregnant. So I was like, how am I gonna do this? Like, you have to go push on them something there, like, I'm too little for carry a baby. And because of my fear, it led me to see how physiotherapy could help me.
Mm-hmm.
And that sparked my interest. I started to do a lot of research on it, and while I was pregnant, I started to find out the physiotherapists in Jamaica who would offer that service, and I was trying to reach out to them. Didn't get very far. I didn't get very far. So I reached out to some overseas physiotherapists and started to have dialogue with them about pelvic health physiotherapy. When I had my daughter now, I was like, okay, I need to find a job, I have a child, I need to find a job. And my first job wasn't even in physiotherapy. I got my first interview was at Bustamante Hospital, and I got through with the job. However, they said they would pay me like 3 months in the back or something like that. And it didn't make sense to me to leave my child at home. Now she was being breastfed. I have to leave her on formula and not going to get paid for 3 months. I didn't take it. And then I took a job at Sutherland, so a call center.
Mm.
And I had this identity crisis now because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be a physiotherapist. Here I'm at the call
Yeah.
center. Why am I doing
I,
this?
I can
Identity crisis
I can
here.
imagine that.
But no, everything that happens in life, it happens for a reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And once you take the lessons from that, it really helps you. So my job at Solon was sales. I knew nothing about selling anything, but I credit my ability to sell now to my first job out
Mm-hmm.
of school being at Sutherland. However, it wasn't for me, so I didn't stay very long. It was like 3 months in, and I was like, no, it wasn't even 3 months. Whenever the training ended, my time there ended. And I just left. I got another job at the university, but it was not in sales either. But guess where it was? The fertility management unit. So you see, Women's Health was calling
Mm-hmm.
my name. So I ended up at the fertility management unit, and I learned a lot there about fertility and issues that would affect women's health.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't in a medical point because I was working in the claims for insurance, but because of that, I learned a lot. Everything that would come up that women would be doing surgery for or whatever needed, I'd research it, and I was getting a lot, like I was becoming more experienced to that whole aspect of women's health. And it's just how life works when it's calling you to your passion or your purpose. So again, it's like another 2 month stint or 3 month stint, and I was out
Mm-hmm.
because I really wanted to do physiotherapy because I actually loved it, and I applied for this position that I wasn't qualified for, but that's me.
I've done that
That's
quite a
what I
few times.
do. So it's what I do. I'm gonna go out there and put myself out there
Hope for the best.
and hope for the best. It was working with a orthopedic surgeon, and the interview went well. He's just like, oh, have to have you here, and we started working together. And I worked there for 2 years, and that is where I got because of work. I was working with the orthopedic surgeon. How I looked at my patients and how I treated my patients would have been different from the typical physiotherapist because I was his assistant. I was in surgery with him. I was seeing the surgery. So when I'm treating somebody, I know exactly what's happening in surgery. So
Mm-hmm.
I know what's going to happen right after. Because right after surgery, I would have to see the patient, make sure that they wake up properly, make sure that they get everything that they needed, the swelling, anything that they needed. I was the one who provided that. So
Mm-hmm.
I would look at a patient after surgery different from another physiotherapist based on my experience. And so it kind of shaped how I became a physio because this is my first real physio job. So, it kind of shaped that for me. And I regret nothing. That was a beautiful experience. It didn't end as I would have liked it to end, and it was because the paths were different. He wanted me to do more physician assistant, and of course, my passion was physiotherapy. So I was traveling that path.
Yeah.
And then I ended up at Body Forte, and that was another beautiful experience where I got to merge physiotherapy and Pilates. And again, I saw where I could help women with the Pilates and the physiotherapy there. And my boss was the type of boss who she would help you to push whatever you were going after. So she gave us the Kontinue education. That was part of our package. Working, it was a benefit for working there, and I did more like Kontinue education in women's health. And that's when I began developing the Mommy Tummy Guide. And then COVID happened, and I decided to take that leap of faith and bet on myself. And here I am, betting on myself.
I was going to ask what was the chance? Because in the intro, we mentioned Mommy Tummy. So I was looking for the point where I was going to ask if all of this previous history from leaving university to where you were when you started the Mommy Tummy Guide. I was going to ask right about the after the pregnancy bit, but then I was like, but then you you were talking about the fact that where you were at the time you could research stuff and it would help you there.
Right.
So that's what brought up the question of, I wonder if that's where the Mommy Tummy thing started.
Well, the Mommy Tummy thing really started because I had a diastasis recti. So I have to tell you what the Mommy Tummy thing is first.
And yeah, I have to also tell me what diastasis
I'm going to tell you all of
recti
it. Don't worry. So the Mommy Tummy Guide is a
Mhm.
program that I created to help women after pregnancy with diastasis recti. So diastasis recti it's a separation of the abdominal muscles, and it is completely natural. Okay, so I don't want women to feel like diastasis recti is an abnormal thing. It's something that happens so that the tummy can grow and accommodate the pregnancy. All right, so it's a natural occurrence. It happens in 100% of women. Okay, it's just that some women, yeah, that's everybody. So what happens at some women after pregnancy, the muscles, they don't go back together, right? So it leaves the gap there, and they might need additional help to close that gap. So that's diastasis recti. So I had one. So now that came as a shocker for me, right? Because I just thought that after you have the baby, you go back to looking normal and you carry on with your life. That is not the case. That's not what happens. That's not what happened. So like after about a year of having my daughter, I realized that my tummy was just still out there. Like never to go in. I just never understand why. Cause where's my skinny? I just think say once me have my baby, I go back to my skinny self and yeah, I'm gonna snap back. What does it think say? Yes, swimsuit can wear again. All of that niceness. Could not wear a swimsuit. Like I've just recently started wearing back two-piece, like as recent as last year December, right? And it's just because I just did not like how my tummy looked after pregnancy. And that's a thing that's social media and society kind of push. Like after a woman have a baby, they're going come back, and that's what's supposed to happen. It's not true. It hardly ever happens, and most times when you see it happen for somebody, it's not natural. It's a surgery or something. It's not really natural. So I had my diastasis, and I was like, okay, I'm a physio. I'm gonna fix this, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't as easy as just being a physio and fixing it. It was not that. That was not how. Yeah, it's no. So I started doing the research, and I had a continuation. As I tell you, we got a Kontinue education, like a stipend every year to pay for Kontinue education. So I found a diastasis recti course, and I approached my boss with it, and she paid for it. And I used that course to treat myself and to learn at the same time. And the course was just not enough. It was, at the end of it, still had a diastasis. It was better, but I still had one. So I was just like, all right. I sat down and I was like, okay, Kim, you know the body. You learned all this information. What did it miss? I was like, what did it miss? And when the more I looked at it, I was like, it didn't look at me as like a whole, you know. So I was like, maybe if I took into consideration what mothers would do on a daily basis, if I took into consideration the busy mom, you know, how can I make it easy, like 2 exercises or 3 exercises that can get the job done? And
Mm-hmm.
the more I thought about it, from my perspective, paired with what I learned from the course, I won't deny that I learned a lot from the course.
Mm-hmm.
I created the Mommy Tummy Guide, and I started to use the principles on the women that would come to the office there, and it was working. And then eventually my diastasis recti closed, so I knew that, yeah, I was on to something. And I started to have workshops. I started to put the information out there, and that's it led to like more persons reaching out to me. I wrote articles in the
Mm-hmm.
Observer and the Gleaner, and like more mothers would reach out to me. And then the thing is that when you work for people, you can't focus on what you want to focus on, because
That's
they have
true.
their own vision for their business, and it's
For their,
fair.
yeah, yeah.
I can't just go in there and be
And
like,
be like, oh yeah,
yeah, this is what I'm gonna
bring in
do.
the Kim
Yeah,
routine. This is
can't.
the new thing. Like, no, I
Like,
have my business plan. I have my
right,
goals and
exactly.
structure.
And she had her way of her doing her business, which was fine. It was good. But I also had my vision for myself and my business. So it was no better time
Mm-hmm.
than COVID time to bet on yourself. I mean, like,
So
what
yeah,
did you have to lose at that
at
point?
that yeah,
You didn't
to
have
work
much to
on to
lose,
improve. Yeah.
right? So at that time, I decided there's no time like now to bet on myself. So I did, and I left, and I got my first online client from Trinidad,
Mm.
and most of my patient clients are from Trinidad. Let's just say that.
Okay.
And, hi, this is Kimberly Hoffman-Reid from InSync Health, Wellness, Beauty, the creator of the Mommy Tummy Guide. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to FiwiFewCents.
All right. So we heard the story of what happened right after university. The internships, the different jobs that weren't really suited to you, and then the jobs that taught you something that helps
Mhm.
you with where you are right now, and then the jobs that was that full-fledged stepping stone that got you to being the creator of Mommy Tummy. You have clients internationally. And so would you say business is booming?
Booming. Let me just tell you where I am now. Let's see. So now I am the director of InSync Health, Wellness, Beauty. That is the company that I formed.
Mm-hmm.
So in this company, I offer physiotherapy services, particularly women's health services.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to hire physios so that we can offer all the different specializations of physiotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I sell beauty products, skincare, natural products, and I give general health and wellness advice,
Mm-hmm.
So under that umbrella, I have, quite a few things going on, but they all come together. Like, believe it or not, they all come together really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the vision that I have always had for myself and for my business, and where I wanted to take physiotherapy, And so now I work directly with gynecologists, so they refer patients to me, from their patients to me, to deal with their women's health related issues as it pertains to physiotherapy. And as I mentioned before, physiotherapy has to do with function. So I'm helping these
Mm-hmm.
women through their pregnancies, after their pregnancies, senior citizens with pelvic floor prolapse or pelvic organ prolapse. When people believe that once you get to a certain age you have to end up in diapers, and that's not the case. Physiotherapy can help you with that, and I've been helping a lot of women with that. So
Mm-hmm.
booming, I wouldn't go there yet because I'm
Okay.
nowhere near the vision that I see for myself, but things are happening and they're coming together as they should.
Okay.
And I'm happy with where things are going, and I'm happy that I can bring a different light to physiotherapy. I'll always take an opportunity like this, because um, someone will hear about physiotherapy and they'll see it and understand the benefits, and they'll probably say, my mother running to the bathroom all the time, maybe physiotherapy can help her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll always be writing, I'll always make myself available to spread the word, not just for my business sake, but because there are many persons out there living through things that they don't have to live through. and this profession, physiotherapy, can help them. And
Mm-hmm.
I always will be an advocate for physiotherapy because I'm a people person and I want people to live their best life. And you live your best life when you're
When
healthy.
you're healthy,
You
yes.
live your best life when you're well. And that is my passion. And in that aspect that I'm able to do that, I do believe I'm booming,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot more booming
To be
to
done.
be done.
Okay. Right. And you mentioned you're also doing a doctorate.
Oh,
I almost said masters. Can you believe?
ah, can you believe? But yes, I am doing my doctorate in pelvic floor rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a DPT, so it's called a Doctor of Physiotherapy,
Mm-hmm.
and a specialization is in pelvic floor rehabilitation, and that would entail the diastasis recti, that will entail the pelvic organ prolapse,
Mm-hmm.
urinary incontinence. That's when you have to run to the bathroom. Fecal incontinence, men with prostate cancer
Mm-hmm.
who would have probably lost their sexual function or their inability to hold the urine or the feces. I'd help them. That's the 1% for the men.
That's yeah. I
That's
was
the tips of men, yeah.
the good tips.
Yeah,
The
that's the
tips
tips.
for the man
So
them again.
that's what I can help men with.
Okay.
And overall, just the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor is meant to help us with stability. It's meant to help us with support with our
Mm-hmm.
sexual function, bladder function, bowel function. So it's pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm out here trying to make people realize that these things that you're living with, you don't have to
You
live
don't
with
have to,
that,
yeah.
So, and there are only a few physiotherapists in Jamaica, and I can't treat everybody, I can't. So I want to also help other physiotherapists to get into this aspect of the profession so that they can also help persons, because the truth is one pelvic health therapist, not even 10 pelvic health therapists, not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So if you're pregnant, if you're, the family planning stage, if you're looking to get pregnant, if
Mm-hmm.
you are an aspiring physiotherapist, if you're, this is a joke, attending GC Foster's knockoff program. I'm sorry. No, if you aren't,
I did not say
if
that.
you haven't done your research and found out if it's fully accredited, I could be wrong and saying GC is doing physiotherapy when that's not what they're doing. I could may very well be wrong.
You're not
So
wrong.
okay, then that answers that then. So if you fall under any one of these categories, right, you are right now the go-to person, right? You so anybody who's watching this now and they want any one
I
of those
can get you the
ones,
information that
they
you
can, yeah,
need.
there you go. So you can be either the middleman, if they're having the
Yes.
issues that you specialize in, you're the guy, or you can refer them. You can say, okay, this person is specializes in that. That person specializes
Right.
in this.
Yes,
Okay,
I can help you to get to where you need to go.
okay, good, good, good. All right. So for those who are already in it and they have an aunt similar to yours who was saying, sounds of that. So like, what would, because just like, I don't want to call it encouragement because I personally don't really like baseless encouragement, but just like words of advice to either aspiring physiotherapists, people who are already in the course, or people who just leave and can't seem to make their way. Because I think I wanted to go back to your post university experience, but you basically went through the story and explained
Mm-hmm.
how you went from here to here to here,
Right.
and you ended up in a whole different thing, and then you came back. So, but I think you covered how not quite easy it might be,
Right.
but at the same time, what were you saying to them?
Well, for me, it's always about purpose and your passion. So the thing is, people think that passion mean that, they'll have this saying that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Mm.
That's foolishness. I work every day, and I love what I do. So it's still work. It's still work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, you know, understand that those things that you read and when social media tell you, that's not life. That's what they would like life to be, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not real. Work is work, but you can enjoy your work, right? But it's still work.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it because don't get it twisted. You're doing it because you need to survive. You need to pay bills. You need to take care of your family. You have to work, unless you're lucky and you have the gold spoon, which no, I don't know.
Me
I
neither.
can't relate to those people.
Me
But
neither.
for the persons who they have to work to survive, it's work, and work must make sense to you. You understand? So when you're thinking about physiotherapy, people, they'll randomly do masters, they'll randomly do doctorate programs because they feel like they're gonna get more money, and that's not the reality. You have to think, and I always tell persons who ask my physiotherapy advice is find the area of physiotherapy that you love. Don't try to catch every patient. That's where you burn yourself out. That's where you get discouraged because you're out there trying to just, I need to make some money, I'm just grab.
Yeah.
Find the area that you love. Yes, you can go and grab while you're finding the area that you love, because that's the only way to know. You treat a
Which
bunch
yeah,
of
yeah,
them and
yeah.
you
And then
say,
you say
I
figure
really
out which
like
one you really
these,
like. Yeah.
right. I really like treating persons with this condition. And there's so many areas of physiotherapy that's untapped. So many. I had a patient tell me that she had a something with her jaw, and she had to go overseas for physiotherapy because there's nobody in Jamaica specializing in that. And how much money she pay? She's like, you sure you don't want to do that? I'm like, I'm gonna fix your diastasis because truly I can't do everything. But there's so many areas that are untapped. Find it, do your research, because you might feel like, oh, this is not for me after you finish because you didn't get the ideal job that you probably would have wanted straight out of school. But it's probably because you're just not in the area that is for you. So, find the areas that you like. You understand? And then always get back to your why. Why did you choose physiotherapy? Why do you like
'Cause it's
physiotherapy?
fabulous.
It's fabulous. That was a very vain why, and I hope that's not your why. But find your why.
Yeah.
I truly love, as I said before, I love getting to meet all these people and their different stories. And if that is your why, tap into that. Even when the day get busy, if I get to talk to a patient and they're telling me about their experience, just absorb that experience instead of thinking, oh God, me have that 3 more year for say. And those are the things that take me through my day, because I'm gonna tell you some day them rough. Them rough. But I give that person that time in front of my time. And when you do that, you get to, it doesn't, instead of thinking about the entire day, you're thinking about that hour or that 45 minutes or that half an hour with that patient. You get to think about that time with them and focus on them, and then it's easier to go through the day. So it's not going to be easy. It's not easy, and I can make physiotherapy look fabulous too, like that other physio did for me. But I'm here to say it's not as fabulous as you'd have
The
expected.
reality,
It's
yeah.
not. It's not. But if you believe that you were called to this profession for a reason, tap back into that reason and let that be a guiding factor. Not person saying, oh, maybe this profession would have been better for you. Because only you can know. Only you can know your calling. Because, like, as I said sometimes to God, if you believe in God, I do.
I do.
So I would say, God, how you must put this big vision in this tiny little girl, like, really, God?
Yeah.
But that vision drives me. It drives me every day because it's my vision, and I can want people to understand and I want people to see it, but they probably won't, and it's not their responsibility to see my vision.
Yeah.
It's not.
We have this conversation like multiple, like per season. There's always this conversation about this is my vision, my baby, my project, and at the end of the day, I can't really get people to like fully understand or invest in it as much as I have. So I have to learn to
You have to
think
understand.
from their
Right.
perspective as well as mine, and try to make sure that everything
Right.
is going as it should. You mentioned that your week is, I don't remember the wording, but just like, so I'm fast in your business now. what is what is like a typical work week for a physiotherapist slash entrepreneur slash mommy slash student slash
Oh, jeez.
all sorts of things? What is
Slash
what is your
wife?
week slash what? Yes, slash sit there
Slash wife?
slash wife.
Well, I typically, like, at one point I was running up and down, and then I was like, it's not for me. So what I've done is I've condensed my week. I don't do weekends anymore. And I try weekends are family time. And then in the week now, I get up really early because I find that I get more done when the house is quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So I use the mornings to plan. I use the mornings to see my overseas clients, because I'm international, of course,
International.
international. I use the morning to see my overseas clients, and I just try to maximize on time. It's like getting into a routine and sticking to the routine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to always work out perfectly because you go to a patient and something happen and it throw off your rest of your day. Just don't let those things bother you. Keep going. Just keep going. Some days are better than others. You know, I have a lot of help. I have a really supportive husband, and I advocate if you're a businesswoman, entrepreneur, you need a supportive partner. There's no other way. There is no other way. So I do have a supportive family, supportive team that helped me out a lot in terms of like with the mothering stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to rush to go pick up my daughter. Somebody picks her up. She's taken care of until I get home. And when I get home, I try to give her that time. And you see, the thing is, people always talk about balance. It's not true. There's no balance. It's just like sometimes it's business times, sometimes it's family
Sometimes, yeah.
time, sometimes it's just understanding that there are times when things will take your attention and giving it your attention instead of fighting it. That's when people get that conflict because they're like, oh my God, I need to give my family all this time, but the business really need the time right now. So give the business the time. It won't need your time all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So give it the time. When your family needs you, give your family the time, and just understand that there's always something that's gonna be up a little more than the
Then the
other,
next, yeah.
and it's okay. And then you create the unnecessary conflict when you're like, no, we need to balance it. Need this time with family. It's not gonna work. It's gonna stress yourself out. So just do it as best as you can and give
Mm-hmm.
yourself room, a lot of room. That's what I try to do, to give myself room to understand that this weekend I might spend an hour or to comb my daughter hair, and that's what I said for the time. But it might take me 3 hours because she won't hold her head and she'll watch this, and and it's just life.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna beat myself up over it because I gave myself that free time. So if it did go over into it, yeah, all right. Just realistic with the time, and it doesn't come like now I can say it. But
Mm-hmm.
before, there's once upon a time when somebody asked me, did you do this? Now sit down here with you for a whole hour. No, sir, that can't happen. It could have happened, but as
Yeah.
I got better with my time, I realized how I can do the things because I like doing this. I like being
Mm-hmm.
able to speak to people and share different perspectives. I like it. So I want to do more of the things that I enjoy, and the only way to do that is to manage the
Manage
time
the
better.
time better.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So, lastly, before we close out, is there anything you would like to plug, more specifically your daughter's business? I'm actually interested in what's going on there
Okay,
because,
let me plug Kai Dolls. So my daughter sells dolls.
Mhm.
These are cultural dolls. Like I call it cultural because they're black dolls, and they have curly hair and they're really pretty. And it's because when you go to buy dolls, you don't really find the darker skin dolls.
Mhm.
And when you do find the darker skin dolls, they're pricey.
Mm.
The first doll I bought my daughter was one of those Jamaican dolls that speak patois. Granted, I took the thing out and threw it away, the thing that talks, because it was so annoying. But that was the first doll I bought my daughter, and I paid. I think I paid very close to $10,000 to $11,000 for that doll.
Oh,
Granted, she still has it's still a nice doll, but
for a
it was
doll.
very expensive, and I didn't think that I needed to spend that much money just for my daughter to have a doll that she could relate to. So I
Mm.
jokingly said to her one day when she asked me for money, start your own business, I can't afford it. And she's like, what? Kids can start business? I'm like, yeah, you can sell stuff. And she said she wanted to sell dolls. She said it to her father, and I just thought it would just go up in the air. But no, her father came with a box full of dolls.
Oh.
And of course, it became one more responsibility for me. But we've been selling car dolls. We did really well. She sold out to the Prime Minister's office in December. Yeah, big things. And she's doing pretty well.
It's not fair.
The thing is, I believe with the universe is that when you put yourself out there, sometimes,
Mhm.
it gives you a little extra push,
Yeah.
and it just
Somebody's watching,
works.
somebody's
Yeah.
listening, somebody's waiting.
So just put yourself
So
out there.
just put
You
yourself
never
out there.
know. You just never know. So yeah, plug in Kidals, and I'll plug in my Instagram. Follow me
Mhm.
at the Women's Health Physio.
Mhm.
And yeah, If you want to see me, I'm at 4 Hillcrest Avenue off Old Hope Road and Portmore, Greater Portmore Doc's House.
Okay.
Surgeons and physicians.
All right.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of today's episode. Thank you for viewing. Make sure you like the video, share the video, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Thank you for Kimberly for coming on and sharing with us. I listen. I know more than I did before. Basically, I've learned now a couple of 100% of women don't remember the wording. Diastasis recti, diastasis recti, diastasis recti. 100% happens.
Right.
And
Physiotherapy can help.
There you go. Physiotherapy can help. And physiotherapy is about
function.
Right. Nice. It's all there. So thank you again for coming on.
And thank you for having me.
Nice. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. I've been your host, Kmanii. This has been your guest, Kimberly, Kim. You know the team. And this has been FiwiFewCents. Thank you, and I will see you next week.